Hello and welcome to the Deep Talk Podcast, a podcast and community dedicated to learning, growing, and connecting more deeply with ourselves and one another. I'm Madison Brandt, your host. Let's get started with this week's Deep Talk. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Talk Podcast. As always, so happy to have you all here. I'm so excited to do this episode because I've been meaning to do one on being neurodivergent and just anyone who falls underneath that umbrella in any single way, or anyone who feels like they experience life a little bit differently, or they feel like they have experiences or emotions or times where they're like, oh, I just don't feel like I'm having the same experience as everyone else. And it can be hard. Like, I've been meaning to do an episode on that. And I actually found Ethan Moore, who is today's guest, who is a giftedness coach and has an incredible community on TikTok. I found his content and I didn't know it was underneath the giftedness umbrella of like what a lot of his content was. I just saw a few videos that were about like emotional like heightenedness and like being highly sensitive and being complex and having big feelings and being really curious and imaginative and creative and wanting a lot for your life, and just a lot of things that I felt like I related to. And when I looked on his page, he talks more about giftedness and his experience. He's not a medical professional, but it's something that he experiences and something that he talks about a lot. And I related to a lot of it, a lot of that content. And so we do talk about giftedness in this episode, but we talk about the experience of being neurodivergent, again, whether you're gifted or not. And I just think it is so connective and something I've been wanting to talk about because I think a lot of us feel like we're weird or feel like we're different or don't know how to navigate life being a square peg trying to fit in round holes, whether it's at school, whether it's socially, whether it's with how we pursue our lifestyle and our life and how we connect. And I think that this episode just brings so much like insight and love and support and encouragement to anyone who's feeling a little bit different. So I'm going to read quick what giftedness is, because I thought originally it was just people who were like those smart people at school that like were way smarter than me and were like really high IQ. And it can be that, but it's people who show advanced potential or performance in one or more areas. So intellectual, creative, artistic, academic. They have advanced cognitive abilities like great problem solving and learning speed, intense curiosity, the persistent questioning and desire to understand complex ideas, heightened sensitivity, greater emotional intensity, self awareness and empathy, creativity and imagination, intuitive thinking, unique humor. And I think that giftedness also can a lot of times tag along with ADHD or autism or other mental health disorders, or can pair with those things. But I found that through this episode, well, I personally relate to a lot of things he's saying. I think there are pieces in this that even if you just relate to feeling like in life, you don't always feel like you are similar to how other people are, or if you have gone through something. We even talked about like discovering your sexual orientation and the struggle of coming out and like finding yourself through that is like similar to some parts of the neurodivergent gifted experience. So for anyone who is neurodivergent or experiencing life and feeling different than the people around them, or just anything in that is gifted. Like, this episode is going to talk more about that, bring some encouragement around that, bring some wisdom around that, and also just let you know that you're not alone and encourage you to find people and experiences and create a world around you that supports the rich inner life that you want, even if it's different than anyone else. So let's dive in. This is a lot of me talking, but I really wanted to like upfront talk about this in the episode because I wanted people to know that like, yes, we're talking about giftedness and yes, we're talking about neurodivergence, but it's really an episode for people who also just feel different and want to know that ways that they feel or experience life, they're not alone, and that you can create a life that's great for you, even if it's not the same as everyone else. So with that, let's get in there, and I'm excited for you guys to meet Ethan. Hey Ethan, welcome to the Deep Talk podcast. So happy to have you here. How has your morning been?
Hey Madison, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yay. What have you been up to today? What has been your morning? I guess it's the same time over there, so we're both 10 a.m. right now.
Yep, not a whole lot. I've been lately having some very chill mornings, trying to set intentions for the day and get in touch with like what do I actually want today to look like. I've
Yeah.
been I used to have a lot of urgency in the mornings because I was going to a 9 to 5 job that I really wasn't all that excited about, and
Yeah.
uh, lately I've been having a lot more freedom in the mornings to just ease into the day. It's been great.
I love that. You don't work the 9 to 5 anymore? Or do
No,
you?
so
Okay.
no, I left my 9 to 5 several months ago now and have been all in on this this entrepreneurship journey.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, we just need to get into it. That's crazy. I didn't realize that. That's amazing. So, yeah, what are you up to? And like, give us a little overview about you and what you're up to, because that's amazing.
Yes, absolutely. So I, for a long time, was in the kind of corporate world. I was doing
Yeah.
data science. I was helping Major League Baseball teams
Oh
make
my
better
gosh.
decisions, which was
Okay, cool.
cool. And I actually worked for a brief time for the Twins, which I know is
What? Oh my
maybe
gosh.
your team.
Yes, that's mini yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so that was kind of, it feels like a little bit of a past life, but um, the corporate world and just working
Yeah,
for a company and working for other people was just really not for me. And so I
totally.
had to figure out what do I actually want to do. Um, and I have been someone who's been very, very interested in self actualization and
Totally.
creating a life for myself that feels really good. It feels like it kind of fits like a glove. And
Mhm.
I am someone who has all of these
Mhm.
specific preferences and kind of like uh, particularities, if that is the word,
Yeah,
um, that where like the default path just wasn't going to work for me.
wasn't gonna
So
work.
yeah, so that's anyway, that brings us to today where
Yes.
I have a business where I help other people on their path to
I
self-actualization,
love
helping them, with the things that I wish I knew on my journey. So
oh
it's a
my gosh.
coaching and mentorship type offer that I have right now.
Oh my gosh. Is it around giftedness what you talk about, or is it just like general like self-actualization or what they're kind of working on?
I find that the people who actually resonate with me and are ready to do the work with me are almost always gifted because that's
Yeah.
a big part of my story. And
Yeah.
so there's lots of people that someone could go work with when it comes to
Totally.
this kind of thing. But I'm one of the few people out there who talks about giftedness and owns that as a part of my story.
You know what's so interesting is I feel like as hard as it is probably to be gifted, like it's what makes sets you apart to make people be like, I need to work with him. Like that's the person that would get it. And like that's like the magic and like whatever struggle of it there is like people see your stuff and like I see it and I'm like, I haven't seen content like that. Like if that resonates with you, it resonates with you. And it doesn't resonate with everyone, but like for the people it does, it's like, oh, this is finally a person who gets me. And I can't believe like how many people probably see your stuff and are like, oh, thank God that there's someone I can work with, someone who's going to get it and speak my language. So, yeah,
Yes. Great
yeah,
point. It's been a huge part of my journey because I started out trying to help everyone with everything. I started
yeah,
out
you
just
can do that. Yeah,
not really understanding that
totally.
the things that make me me are the things that are
Yes.
going to bring other people, the right aligned people, into the sphere in order to do that work.
It's so interesting because just by you like you being who you are, it just like sends off the energy of people being like, oh, that versus like you like trying to find like kind of like searching energy of like who can I work with versus just being like this is me, like you come this way and if you resonate like then great. That's like a very very cool. I love that.
100% energetically, it's been a massive
Oh,
shift, and I love it. It's been great.
okay, before we get dive into your whole story, because I need to hear like your background. I have so many questions. I we need to touch on the twins. So, what did you do for them? That is so cool because like they're literally that's my home. So that's so cool. That you were part of that. Not that I care about sports, but it's cool that all world.
Yeah, so I spent a summer as an intern in the Twins front office, the people who make
Oh,
the decisions about which players will be on the team and who the team is going to trade and things like that.
mm,
Um, so the Twins have a really robust internship program. So it was me and 9 other people who were
oh
directly
gosh,
out of college. Yeah.
I would have thought it'd been
Um,
like two. Maybe with
Most
one.
teams are that way. Yeah, most teams have only a
Whoa.
few interns, and the twins decide to do that.
Oh
And
my
so
god.
everyone there is great. I really enjoyed my time.
Yeah.
It wasn't a fit for me to stay there and continue on in a full time capacity, and so that's where my path kind of started to be like, wait,
Yeah.
what else do I want to do?
Totally. Okay, that's so cool. Okay, so I'm curious about what were you like growing up? I'm like very like were you always like this did you were you in touch with like you being a little different or were you just like one day you figure that out? Like I'm curious about kind of like growing up for you with all that.
Yes. It's interesting. So I have a little bit of a different story than a lot of other gifted people because
Okay.
I grew up going to a school, kindergarten through 8th grade, that was a gifted and talented school.
Yeah.
So there were 25 kids per class. Actually,
Mhm.
that's not true. There were 75 kids per class in this whole school. So hundreds of kids
Yeah.
who were all the same as me. We were
Oh
all
wow.
different and we were all weird, but we were all weird kind of together.
Together. Yeah.
And so it wasn't until I left that school, I kind of aged out of it and went to a high school that
Mhm.
was not specific for gifted education that I started to be like, whoa,
Oh
like
god.
the real world is really different
Yeah.
and not as good of a fit for
Mhm.
me. So, but
Yeah.
growing up when I was in that school, I was very excited, passionate, intense. There was space for me to be, sensitive, all of the things that I'm kind of rediscovering now in adulthood, getting back to that place.
Oh my gosh. So was the school like was it a special like different kind of school or was it just like happened to be that way?
It was specifically created for that purpose. So
Okay, okay.
there were a lot of requirements
Okay,
to make
yeah.
sure that the kids who joined the school were were this type of kid. It's kind of a form of almost like special education if you look at it that way, where the educational needs of a gifted child are actually really different than a non-gifted child. And so there are these schools out there in various places, and I was lucky enough to be near one
Yeah.
um, that exists for that purpose.
Okay, that's so cool. What is it called, like, a gifted school? Like, I've never heard of or, like,
It
what
was
kind of school.
called it was a public charter school, and it was called Stargate, and
Okay.
GATE is like gifted and talented education. Many public
Okay,
schools
yeah.
have a GATE program, but
That's
this
so
was like
cool.
if the GATE program was the entire school.
Okay, that is so interesting. So, is the education, like is it for people who are there a lot of people who are, like, really, really like, intelligent as well, like, need, like who are, like, very, like, bright, that kinda thing too? Or is it just, like, a different kinds of gifted people?
Yes, so good question. The main My understanding is that the main criteria
Mhm.
to be eligible to go to this school is or was to have like a top 2% IQ
Okay, gotcha.
score.
Okay, yeah.
That is the definition of giftedness that like is the most objective. It's if you really want
Yeah,
to just have one number to be like, am I gifted or am I not?
yeah,
The institutions and bureaucracies like to have kind of a cutoff that way.
yeah.
And so that is what was generally used. However,
Interesting.
it's the concept of giftedness is that there's more to it than just being extra smart, which
Extra
is kind of
smart.
how some people think about it, but there's a lot more to it. It's kind of an entirely different
Totally.
type of brain and type of nervous system. That has been my
Yes.
experience at
Oh
least.
my gosh, nervous system, that's so true. I think that's why I was curious about the school because I was like, I feel um, like institutions aren't as good as measuring things like being highly sensitive or like the emotional intelligence thing. So I was like, they probably have to have a certain measure for like intelligence if for that school, but I don't feel like it would cover all the other things because I don't feel like that's how schooling works. It's not like as complex as being like people with really sensitive nervous systems can come into like that's not a thing. So
Right.
yeah.
There was a lot of like subjectiveness to it, I think, as
Yeah.
well. There were
Yeah.
lots of kids in my classes who were what's called twice exceptional, which
Oh.
means they were gifted and they also had another form of neurodivergence. So
Mm.
typically ADHD,
ADHD.
at the time it was ADD,
Yeah. I got the
20
HD.
years ago. And then,
Yeah.
autism
Yeah.
or dyslexia or things like that, other forms of neurodivergence. So giftedness is
Yeah.
distinct from those, but there's often a lot of overlap. And
Okay.
so
Yeah.
those
So
folks
interesting.
need extra support as well. So
Yeah.
the school I went to was for them as well.
So your parents then realized early on, and maybe you too, that you were gifted.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. What did they notice within you that made them realize that?
There were some signs. I'm trying to remember specifically. I was one of those kids that would like line up all of his like Hot Wheels cars or like Care Bear toys or whatever,
Yeah.
just like line it all up. Like I was extremely intellectually curious even before like being old enough to go to school.
Okay.
Um, I basically was too much to handle for my parents because
Mm.
I was asking why. I
Yeah.
was trying to understand everything. I was noticing patterns. I was making connections between things. My mom has a story that I was on a changing table in the bathroom of a pizza place, and there were like triangular tiles, like the pattern on the walls was
Yeah.
triangular, and I was, again, still in diapers and pointed to the triangle and said pizza.
Oh my
And so like
gosh.
it's that kind of thing where it's like uh yeah, it just was a lot for my parents. And so
Totally.
they started me in kindergarten a little bit like early. I had just turned 5, and
Okay.
typically kids start kindergarten when they're 6 or something like that. So anyway, it just was clear to them that like I needed a little bit of
Extra.
extra engagement. And then
Oh my
after I
gosh.
started kindergarten there, I when it was more age appropriate, I moved
Yep.
over to this gifted school and it was a great fit.
Yeah, and that must have been a stark difference going from being not only that supported, but having it around you and then going to did you just go to a public so you went to a public school, like a normal regular old school? That must have been, like, very, like, shocking and a lot.
Like after like when
With
I was in high school.
yeah, did you go to a regular yeah, public school?
So after 8th grade, when my gifted school
Yep, yep.
ended, I actually went to my local Catholic private school.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
And I am not Catholic,
Okay, yeah.
and but I was really interested in like academic rigor. And that's
Yeah,
something that they were kind of selling. They were like, "Oh, it's college prep. Like, we're going to get you into a good school." And I was very just ambitious at this
yeah,
time. And there's a lot I could say, but
yeah,
I just it would have been hard enough already kind of being a fish out of water in a
yeah,
regular school, and then to
yeah,
go into a situation
yeah,
that was like all like it was kind of more calcified socially and ideologically. I was asking a lot of questions about their belief system. We were
yeah,
forced to take like religion classes, and I was like, hand up, like, hey, this doesn't make any sense. um, and so it just was really not a good fit for me.
yeah, yeah. Oh, wow, okay, and then how did that, like, from there transpire to where you are now? Because like, there probably was something that made you be like, "I wanna talk about this." Like, what was the journey after that that kind of led you to this?
Yeah. So to be honest, that time in high school was pretty dark for me because
Yeah,
it just was, the ripping away of all of this community and resource and belonging.
yeah.
And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I have more or less been trying to get back to a place for 10 plus years now. And I'm making a lot more progress recently since I'm
Yeah,
able to focus on it.
yeah,
But in the last 10 plus years, I've chiefly been focused on like I need to get back to a place where I feel like nothing's wrong with me. I am, good how I am. I want to uh, I want to live a life that feels good, and that kind of like I know it's possible because I had that when I was growing up. But
Yeah.
being a gifted person in a world not meant for gifted people can be ostracizing, and can kind of and has made me doubt uh, my worth or belonging at times. And so my journey has been like, that can't happen. I need to get back to a place where I'm feeling my best.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you started sharing it on TikTok. Did you know that like it was were you just starting off just sharing? Did you have the intent of like doing what you're doing now?
Good question. Yeah. So I knew that I wanted to help people, and I
Yeah.
didn't quite know how.
Yeah.
And I actually had a lot of shame around this part of my identity being
Yeah.
gifted. And this is super common for people in this community. So, first of all, the word gifted is so loaded, and it implies hierarchy, right? It implies like, well, I'm better than
Yes.
everyone else.
Mhm.
And so that I I I don't know the exact history, but I'm
Mhm.
certain that that word was created for this group by someone who was not gifted, by an outsider, by someone who he looks at this group who doesn't really care to understand what's happening and says, "Oh, those guys are good at math or whatever," or like, they're gifted compare. And so no,
Yeah.
I will just say no gifted person actually likes that label, and there's been lots of conversation about it, um, about changing it or whatever. But it's kind of like that's where all of the resources are, like they're under that title. So it's an interesting conversation to have. But I just want to say it's a source of a lot of shame for
Mhm.
people, and like
Yeah.
we don't want to be seen as
Different
better.
or
We
better.
want to be seen as like that we belong, that
Yeah.
we are different but not better, and not worse, but just we're all human, we're all equal.
Exactly.
And sometimes we have um, different needs or different preferences that we want to honor as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for me, the process of talking about that online was very healing. It was very hard,
Yes.
but it was very healing. And like I said, at the time, I was trying to um, find people who were interested in coaching services.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I started talking about giftedness that I was like, oh, when I own my story, that gives other people permission to own their story.
Mhm.
And then we can actually do the work together.
Love that. That is so cool. Yeah. I feel like talking about it online, even though it's like so vulnerable, I found the same of just it's like it releases so much. First of all, I'm such a verbalizer and I like have so much in my head and I need to get it out. So it like does that, but then it also lets people like see it and connect to it. And it's like it is so healing. It feels so good. Like I just started a Substack and every time I read an article about like a way that I felt, like it releases something in me that I'm like, "Oh my gosh." It's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, it feels so good." I'm like so grateful for it.
Yeah, well, I'm curious to hear more.
Yeah.
Like, what has your experience been with like being seen online, but
Oh
kind
my
of anywhere?
gosh. I'm putting you in the podcast host position. Goodness, I started like so long ago. I felt like it felt like there was no other option for me almost. Like I had so much I
Mm,
needed to like get out and I just started like online sharing. I mean, I started my podcast so like it kind of helped me create like a little bit of like a reason to be online. And then once I started talking to people more in the self development space, and I realized that was something you could talk about, I was like, I got a lot to say. And so I don't think I had the traditional story. I think a lot of people are like really nervous to put themselves online and whatever. But I feel like that came naturally to me for some reason, but it it was still really vulnerable. I think um it was it was really healing. I was going through a lot, like, growing up with just, like, obviously, like, I feel like depression, anxiety are just generic now, but, like, that, but also, like, ADHD and just feeling very different, and, um, talking about it helped me, and even if nobody, like, related, it was just, like, I verbalized so much, so I was like, "I just need to get this out," and, like, hopefully it relates, but honestly, it was kind of for me, which is bad to start, so,
no, that's
yeah.
not bad at all. Like I'm resonating with everything you're saying. I've
Yeah.
learned I've learned that shame shrinks when it's shared.
Mhm.
And that's not
Mhm.
something I ever knew growing up until the last few years. And
Wow.
so the act of sharing those things and owning the truth of our experiences instead of wishing that it was different is just so powerful.
It's so good because every time I do a video or a podcast or I write something, it's like so good to release it, and it's so good to know I know, like, in my brain, like, someone's gonna read this the way that I wish I could read this and feel, like, a little bit better, and, like, that makes me wanna cry. That makes me, like, so grateful that, like, there's one person who could read that and be like, "These are the words that I've been searching for." And I had this girl on my which I kinda talked to you about in the beginning, but I had this girl on my podcast a long time ago, and she was like, "When you go through super hard things or you feel really different or whatever," she goes, "I don't go to the people who have, like, the easy life or like don't share about it. I go to the people who have been in the struggle and who like have the words for me that no one else does." And I always think about that. Like I'm so grateful, like as hard as it can be to feel different or to feel like you kind of are on this weird own path. It's like I know that we can have words for people that wouldn't really know where else to go but us. And that is like a almost like a weight and like it's like my pleasure, but it's also like a weight in the world of like I am one of the people that needs to do that. So
Mm.
um, and you are too. It's like almost like, and I think that's interesting about whether I think you're very extremely creative and you just like love this world, or if you're gifted, it's like almost feels like you have to, like it's like in you. Like it, I don't really feel like I have an option. I feel like it, not that it controls me, but it's just like it's in me. And I think if I didn't do it, I'd be really depressed and not like have me. Like I feel like it really, um, has a grip on me to like share in this way. It's like the purpose. So
Wow.
yeah.
Well, I'm glad you shared that. That's actually a pretty common thing in the gifted
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Okay.
so,
We
like,
need
I'm
to
kind
dive
of
into
not
all
sur
that.
yeah, I'm not surprised to hear you say that, but, like, I feel the same way. I loved hearing your articulation of that felt sense that, like, it's people don't talk about or people don't experience that often, outside
Yeah.
of kind of this archetype or this neurotype that we are. But for me, it has been it kind of just feels like this pull towards a a bigger, better,
Huge life.
brighter, more expansive version
Yes.
of myself.
Oh my god.
And the 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 thing that I realized recently, the thing that keeps me moving in that direction is that like stopping feels so bad.
Feels so
Like
bad.
to feel stagnant or to feel stuck for me is
Oh,
like the worst possible feeling.
yeah.
And so I'll it kind of sometimes makes it hard to rest, and that's something I'm working on. But what I mean, I think what you described is like the call that
It's
you're
insane.
answering. Like you kind of can't not answer this
You
call.
can't. You cannot. Like it literally grips you. I don't know if you feel this, but I feel like there's like an insane like motor inside of me of passion and ambition that like is so huge. I don't know what to
Mhm.
do with it. It like is driving me. Like I can do so much in a day. I can push out so much content so quick. I can think so much. I just have so much like drive in a way that like I've always been like that since a kid, like insatiable drive and like hunger for more and like settling feels awful. And I feel like I don't know if you probably feel this sometimes, but like I look at people not in like a more less way, but I see people who are really fine with just like settling down and it's a very Midwestern way of just starting that life and just sitting in that. And I'm like, oh, there's just so much I want that's plaguing me. Like I can't do that, but I want to just chill and I just can't. And it's just not going to be the way. And that makes you feel different. And it's just this whole thing. It's, yeah.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I've experienced that. I work with people who've experienced that. I think
Yeah.
what you described is so important to own.
Mhm.
First off, that like I am intense, like I am complex, I have this drive.
Yes.
That is how we are. And so the
Mhm.
question becomes, how can I channel all of that so that
Mhm.
it's moving me towards my goal instead of being like frantic, because I've spent so much
Yes.
time spreading myself thin and like doing a bunch of 1,000 different things to
Yes.
try to get like to try to like manipulate the external world to fit and to
Totally.
be what I want it to be. And I've had some success with that, and it still doesn't actually feel good
Mhm,
in my experience.
mhm.
So what I help people do is like, and the lessons that I've learned for my own life is that it's so much more valuable to like do to direct a lot of that energy inwards
Yeah,
into our internal worlds, so that we can get a ton of clarity on like, how do I want to feel? Why am I not feeling that way now? What needs to change? And then we have all of this creative energy that we can use
so
to
much.
like make ourselves better, and it doesn't require all of this like franticness that I used to feel, and
Oh my gosh.
frustration and anger and all of these things.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I relate so hard. I think it's like you have to like go inward and do it part of it for self-actualizing, but I used to be like that too of like just like having so much energy and like needing the dopamine, needing the interest that I was like I don't even care what I learn. I just need to learn. Like you could teach me how to like play golf and also like paint and I would become equally obsessed because it would just be like I want to learn and I want to learn every part of it and all the facets and I want to be great at it. And that's another thing. It's like you doing all those things won't satisfy because it's like I feel like the things that you want to be great and it's really hard to be great at everything. It doesn't like
Right.
yeah. Yeah.
I resonate a lot with that, and I it's interesting that you brought that up, the need to be great, or the desire to be great.
Yes.
It's something I've been thinking about a lot, and something that I
Yeah.
am now owning in my own world. Like, that's the truth of what I want.
Mhm.
And it's hard to explain this to someone who doesn't understand, and I know you do,
Yeah.
that like, I don't want to be great so that I can be great.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
not about the result.
Mhm.
It's about, I want to be experiencing greatness
Yes.
internally.
Yes, it's about a feeling you're trying to get. And it sounds like when you explain it to other people, I think a lot of people will take it as like, oh, you want fame or you want like the followers or you want like to have whatever, like the big house or whatever. And it's like I actually do not care about all those things. It comes from like a humble place of like I want to be the best I can be because I know I'm capable of it and meeting myself and that makes me feel like I'm living my fullest truth and purpose and that feels really good. And that's like for me that's what it is. It really doesn't come from I don't give a shit about I've been doing this for 7 years like I didn't make money for most of it so I'm like it's not coming for that coming from that.
Right.
So,
I think most people in our society who are chasing
yeah.
great results are doing so from a place of internal lack.
Yeah.
So they lack something and they're trying to fill
Mhm.
that void. And like, the harder they're working for this, the bigger the goal and the harder they're working, generally, the bigger the internal lack,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Uh, and so that is kind of like generally how things work. So when you're saying,
Mm.
I want to be a world leader in 50
Yes,
years,
yes.
people assume, oh, you have this huge, or like they might fairly assume, like,
No.
oh, like, what are you trying to compensate for? Right. And so it's not a, it's not a bad thing that we are sometimes misunderstood in that way, but it's
Mm.
just, I think, a good thing uh, to know internally, like, I'm pursuing this from a place of abundance, from a place of like,
Yes.
I'm moving towards this thing, even if that's not the same reason that a lot of other people are chasing greatness, and like, that's okay.
Yeah, it's such an interesting experience. You don't even necessarily know exactly what it is. Like, I think that we have, like, kind of a vision, but it's just, like, I know I'll know it when I feel it, and I feel like that with, like, so many things of, like from, like, relationship and partnership to, like, my hobbies to my businesses, I'm like, I'll just know because 'cause it'll, like, bring that internal, like, satisfaction and feeling that I don't even have words. I don't really know if I have, like, the words for what it is, but I just know I'll know it, and when I explain that, people think I'm crazy, and they're like, "Well, you should just do this." I'm like, "That does not apply to me." And then you feel weird because they're like those generic sayings of what you should do and how you should feel apply to a lot of people, and then you're like, why doesn't that apply to me? But you just know it
Mm,
doesn't. Yeah.
right. Yeah. It's a huge thing that I've learned is to just stop listening to almost any advice
Yes, okay, I was gonna
at
ask about
all,
that. Yeah. Yeah,
which
any
is, I
advice.
think, a little bit funny coming from someone who is a coach and who is like helping people on their journey,
Yeah,
because I think a lot of people assume that what I do is give advice.
yeah,
And it's just not the case, because the advice that we get from other people is fundamentally them talking to themselves. It's them in their own, they're projecting their own, like, what I wish I knew.
yeah,
But when someone else doesn't have the same experience
mhm,
of life, and their brain works completely differently and their values are
totally,
completely different,
totally.
then when they say you should be working 16 hours a day and work harder, work harder, work harder, that's just an example of like a message that comes up on my like uh feeds a lot of the times.
Mhm,
And I'm like, well, I could listen to that, but actually it would be much more wise for me to go internal and listen to what my own system and mind are telling me. And
yeah,
I've had that experience that you talked about where like I'll know it when I feel it. The
yes.
way I describe that feeling is when you have a word on the tip of your tongue and
Yes,
you can't remember the word, and people are shouting out all these
like,
words like, is it this
"No."
word, is it this word, is it this word, and you just
Yeah,
know it's wrong. And as soon as you think of the word, it has to come from you, it has to be
has to.
internal.
Yes.
And as soon as you think of the word, it's this feeling of what I describe, or the word I use, is resonance.
Yes, oof, a
Like
good
I
word, yes.
resonate with the word, like that is the exact precise thing that I needed.
Mhm.
It's so hard and so rare to get that resonance externally, but if you go internal and start to understand like how can I be my own compass, that resonance will be like every decision you make will be resonant because you have the answer already inside of you.
It sounds so obvious to do that, and I think generally everyone should follow their own intuition, but it's like, it's so hard to do that, and I don't know if you felt this, but, like, as someone who's neurodivergent, gifted, whatever, like, I think it's when you hear so much about how other people do things, it makes you, 1, think you're doing it wrong, 2, be like, "Well, should I try that? Like, maybe I should try that." Like, because sometimes what you're doing for yourself is taking longer or a different path, and sometimes it can make you be like, "Ooh, like, is my compass working? Like, maybe I should listen to these other people." But then when I try that, it falls so flat, and my system always craves, like, more of a complex, like, different experience or, like, feeling. So, like, you do have to listen to yourself, but sometimes I find for myself, I'll be like, "Is that right? Is trusting myself when it's so different, like, does that make sense?" It does make sense, but also sometimes I don't trust it, and I'm like, "Ooh, like,
Mm.
this what if this doesn't get me where I need to be?" I don't know. Do you ever feel like that?
Yes, yes. I think the following your own internal compass is a complete frame shift from how we are taught to do things in
Yeah.
this society. And so there's a lot of what I call wobbles in the process. But
Mhm.
I think there's nothing wrong with like trying other people's advice and trying lots and lots of different things. But the experience you're having, that's the North Star. So,
Yeah.
for example, I like to try out a lot of different coffee shops
Oh
in
my gosh,
uh,
same.
where I live. I love it. I love the
Yes.
vibe of being in one, especially when
Wait,
it's good.
same.
And
Okay.
and so I bring this up because I look at a lot of other people's lists of like top 5 coffee shops in this area, and I'm like, that's like kind of like someone else's advice. Like, you should go to these. And
Mhm.
so I will try one out, and, it's super hyped. It has 5 stars on Yelp or whatever. And I go in there, and let's just say for this example, I don't like it. I'm like,
Yeah,
something is like,
got it.
actually, this place doesn't like, I can see how other people would like it, but I
Yes.
just actually don't like.
Oh,
uh, it doesn't work for me. And so that doesn't
Mm.
mean that it's a bad place. It doesn't mean that the original advice giver was wrong. It's just that I know now that I'm a person that has unique and sometimes funky preferences. And so
Yeah.
the key is to listen and prioritize my own experience
Yes.
over whatever the consensus is in the general public. Does
Okay,
that
so
make
you could
sense?
totally where it's like, it's not that you don't listen to people, it's just that, like, you're not gonna follow that only. Like, you can be like, "I'll try this, and I'm also putting it through my system and seeing how I feel about it," versus just taking theirs and running with that only. Yeah, that
Yes,
makes
I
a
think
lot of sense.
sometimes people turn someone else's advice, especially for like how to live your life or like
Mhm.
big like pillars of your life,
Yes.
and they'll continue using that and trying that even when it clearly isn't working
Is it
for them.
working?
And that's when we have to do a little bit of digging and being honest with ourselves about like why why do you think someone else knows you better than you know you?
Totally, yeah. Funny side note, when you were talking about the coffee shops in the beginning, I had this weird sense of, like, I needed to ask you about the coffee shops in Chicago because I was like, I love coffee and I love running around Chicago trying to find good ones, and I'm too obsessed with finding the coffee shops. I have like a remote job that I also do during the day, and every day I'm like, I have my few favorites that are mine, and my friends are like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "These are my favorite ones." And then I'm always trying to find new ones to add to my list. And I don't know if that's a neurodivergent thing or what, but there's something about a coffee shop. It's like it's not even just the coffee, it's the energy, it's the vibe, it's the parking nearby, it's all the things that, like, and just, like, being around people's energy, but not necessarily having to engage in it. It's, like, it's so soothing to me, and I just love, like, I feel like coffee shops and, like, cafes are, like, my, like, second home or something. I love them.
Yeah. I mean, we can speculate. I really don't know because again, a lot of people like coffee shops and a lot of people who aren't neurodivergent like coffee shops.
Yes.
But for me, it's like it really is nice to be in a place that is specifically meant to be cozy and like I generally get warm drinks, so it's like it's
Yes.
warm, in the winter,
Ugh,
and I'm around people, I'm around the energy, which helps me feel less alone.
yeah, same.
A lot of times I feel alone when I'm engaging with someone directly because I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
you're not like me and I'm not like you, and we're not really connecting.
Yeah.
But if I'm just sitting in a room with 50 people and they're all having a good time and I'm there having a good time with myself, then I can kind of feel like I had a good time with others, even though
Yeah,
it's actually very rare. It's
no,
actually very rare for me to have a good time with someone directly.
that's actually so funny. Yeah, no, totally. And also just like I think for me, I also have ADHD, so it's like the constant buzz of sound makes new sound not something I notice versus like if I'm in a very quiet library and like there's a new sound, then I'm like so distracted. So like the constant
Yeah.
hum weirdly helps me zone and get focus, which not all my friends are like, "What?" Like that would make me like
Mm,
distracted. I'm like, "No, like I love it. I love the constant buzz." It's yeah. So
I love it. That makes sense to me.
but I think yeah, that's yeah, I think in this like community or people who are neurodivergent, I think like just finding people who are similar or can understand you. I think I saw this thing the other day was like people don't necessarily need to be like have someone give them the right advice or all those things. People just need like a witness to their experience and having somebody just listen and say I get it or I also experience that or I get it or I'm with you or like I see you and just like holding space is like so healing and finding people who get it, actually get it is like another level of like feeling seen and healed and like supported. Yeah.
100%. That's something that I'm noticing more and more in my work with clients where, these
Mhm.
these people come to me and are extremely ambitious and again, they have these huge goals. They're
Yeah.
so driven. They really want to make a change in the world and create an aligned life for themselves.
Yeah.
And the thing that helps them most is for me to oftentimes is for me to just listen and
Yes.
for me to say all those things that you think are weird or wrong about you are actually really normal in this context of giftedness. And
Yeah.
So being that, like, I think you very accurately called out that need to be witnessed, that most people don't really have a problem with that and don't think about that. In this community, that's like a huge psychological need that generally goes unmet. I want to throw out kind of a little bit of a controversial take on this.
Yeah.
I hear so often from people saying, I want to meet another gifted person. I want to, have this whole or this whole group of friends
Mhm.
of gifted people and this community. Like, we do crave that. And my take is that you need to witness yourself first. That is the
Mm.
key to opening up all of these other possible connections. In
Yeah.
my story, I knew that, so I post a lot on TikTok. I knew that TikTok was going to be a way to connect with other people who were like me, but I wasn't willing to witness myself and say, this is true about me. And so
Mm.
I was terrified to post on TikTok, and I was
Totally.
stuck in isolation.
Mm.
I was what I call masking. I
Yeah.
know um, that other communities use that term as well. When I say masking, I just mean I am putting up a front. I'm uh, performing a version of myself that
Yeah.
seems palatable and safe to other people.
Mhm.
But doing that is, it's a safety mechanism, right? It's kind of
Yeah.
an automatic thing,
Mhm.
but we do it for a reason. We do it because we feel like our actual authentic self is not
Safe.
safe in the
Totally.
environment, but it's also not safe within us,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So a lot of my work, my personal work, has been improving my relationship with myself so that I know that I can bring up a truth about myself without being judged, without being um, shamed by myself, right? Um,
Totally.
and so when
Yeah.
we do that, then we can say out loud to other people, here's who I am,
Yeah.
here's what I enjoy.
Yeah.
Do you want to engage with me on that level or no? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But we can't,
100%.
like, it's counterintuitive, but we can't really access the other people who can witness us until we are feeling good about witnessing ourselves.
Totally. And I think going to like the group, it makes sense because you're like, that'll be validating. That'll make me feel better about my experience. But I don't even know if it necessarily, it's maybe like a band aid because I feel like
Yeah.
if you're not feeling good about yourself, like it's not going to necessarily do everything. And I also think that when you do that internal work, I feel like you will probably feel less of a need to have people around you that are gifted or the exact same. You just are looking for people that resonate with you. And that might not be people that are gifted. That might just be people who like you and are willing to understand. Um, but yeah, it has to come from you first. So I love that you mentioned that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a tough thing to tell someone who, like, has these needs that are going unmet internally, that, like,
Yeah.
you're looking external to meet an internal need, and, like, that's what we've been taught to do, and
Yeah.
it just isn't really the best way to go about it. But
Yeah.
it is difficult.
Yeah.
I agree.
Um, I think let's talk a little bit about I know this is like very late in the conversation, but of like for people who are wondering like if they're gifted, like what are like some signs besides just being like very intelligent? Like are there because I know that you have your experience and I have mine and everyone like has a different experience, but like what would be some things that you would say are things that could be within that?
Yeah. Um, on this topic, I want to say a few things up front. One is that, I'm not an expert on giftedness itself. I'm not like a researcher
Yeah,
or a psychologist. I just have my own experiences.
totally.
Um, the second is that a lot of times people get tripped up trying to like figure out if they belong in this bucket of giftedness or not. Like,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
kind of it to me is kind of almost like the wrong question to ask. I think
Okay.
if you've been resonating with this conversation, you have this type of brain. I think, like if the things we've said
Yeah.
have made you think, yeah, me too. I
Mhm.
think that's actually the best way to figure out if you're gifted.
Yeah.
And with all the things I post on TikTok, if someone says, I resonate with your story and I resonate with how you talk about things and how you think about things, I'm like, okay, you probably have the same type of brain that I do.
Yeah.
So I'm not interested in being the arbiter or telling someone you
Totally.
belong here and you don't belong here.
Yeah.
But I actually have a video that's pinned at the top of my profile that's like, generally, here are some traits.
Yeah.
Um, you and I have talked about some of those traits already
Mhm.
on this podcast, and I'll just like enumerate them directly. Where it's feeling this intensity, like I need to be going somewhere, I need to be learning, I need to be growing.
Mhm.
That's a huge one.
Yeah.
Um, Cognitive ability is a huge one too. So sometimes we think about it as smart or intelligent,
Yeah.
but it really is just like you can solve problems really well. Like
Mhm.
your brain just works in a way that makes, unique connections. It sees complexity in the world and can like kind of distill it down
Yes. Oh,
into an
exactly.
insight. Okay,
Yep.
so you're resonating, right?
Yup,
Like,
holy shit. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll just see I had an old boss be like, "You just see this whole web, and then you just, like, pull it through one thing," and I'm like, like, it's so yeah,
yeah.
that's like my videos. I, like, have all these thoughts, and I'm like, I'm pulling it through a video. That's like my yeah,
Mm. I love that. I
the one
think
insight.
that that is the trait that someone else saw that we have and called
Mhm.
us gifted.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the reason for the giftedness. Like, legitimately, like, that specific trait is super helpful, like in the workforce, and
Mhm.
like it's a great tool for us to use in order to like provide value to others and make money in exchange and like live and fund the life that we want. So
Totally.
that's a huge thing. But there's also this emotional sensitivity element
Yes. Yep,
of
yep, yep.
giftedness where we are highly aware of how things make us feel, and we're
Yes.
highly aware of energy shifts in the room,
Yeah, highly sensitive.
highly sensitive. Now, this is also a trait that is shared by people who have like childhood trauma,
Mhm.
or, and again, I'm not an expert on this, but
Mhm.
I've done my own kind of
Research.
work on this type of thing in my own life. And so there's an element of like hypervigilance that
Yes.
people experience, like a pattern that people experience, that I think allows them to be sensitive because they had to be as children.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of gifted people have had experiences like that too, because it's like, well, we weren't really mirrored and we weren't
Yeah.
really
Met, yeah.
witnessed
Yeah.
as 2 year olds or 4 year olds or 8 year olds.
Mhm.
So I'm personally not interested in like detangling how much of that is trauma and how much of that
Yeah,
is giftedness, but
I get
it's a common thing that people in this community talk about.
totally,
Uh,
okay, that's so interesting because I went to a trauma therapist for, like, a long time, not because I was like, because I had heard that, like, trauma isn't necessarily, like, huge things, but, like, little moments, and again, yeah, we probably do have those little moments of not being witnessed and not being met, whatever, but I was like, I've never had those certain huge things where I feel like we be doing trauma work, and I'm like, I don't know if this is fully resonating, but I do know that, like, I'm very highly sensitive to energy changes, and I think to, I don't know, like there's shame involved too. There's just a lot of feeling, and it's a curse and it's a gift, but it's true. It's like I don't know if mine fully really comes from trauma. It's just like it's more of like my wiring of being sensitive and noticing things and the pattern noticing of like, oh, if someone's acting this way, then this is wrong or um so yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so those are the main ones.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. I think something interesting too about giftedness, or like just neurodivergence, I always thought that it was like trying to find a trait of like this is the thing that's different, this is the thing that's different. And I honestly just think it's like a wiring. It's like a different, and that was like a huge for me realizing it wasn't like just being more intelligent or being more sensitive or whatever. It's just like it's kind of okay, who you are and your wiring versus just like one thing you can point to. There's oftentimes like many things. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it really is an entirely different system. Like it's the way that it's been described. I don't remember exactly where, but I've read
Mhm.
plenty of books on giftedness as I've become
Yeah.
more aware of, like, I'm trying to learn about myself. And a researcher described it as, we're not more of something, we're something else entirely. So
Oof.
it's not like we're just a regular person who's more smart. It's like there's actually,
Yes.
like, in a lot of ways our experience is categorically different, where a neurotypical person really can't even possibly understand what it's like to be us, and in many ways we can't really understand what it's like to be them. Again, it's not a better or worse, it's just a different.
Different.
And the sooner
Yeah.
that we as gifted individuals acknowledge that about ourselves, the sooner
Mhm.
we can build a life that actually works for us, instead of uh, responding with shame or guilt or wishing that we were
Yes.
more like everyone else, because we really just cannot be.
Can't.
Like, it's just not in the cards.
It's not in the cards. It's we gotta give that up. I saw something on your social media, which I'm like actually going to like take and use for the rest of my life with your permission. But I was like, square peg, square hole was like, or like you're like gotta stop trying to find the round holes. And I was like, like I feel like that is so what I needed to hear. And I've been saying to my mom lately, I was like, Mom was like, I have this guy coming on. I was like, I'm gonna go find my square holes in life now. Like this is great. Like this is like the best thing I've heard of. Like I think I've spent so much of my life really trying to understand people's experiences and really struggling to be okay with mine. And um I think that's a part of this journey. It's like you feel like there's something so wrong with you. You're trying to search what it is. And like I felt like the answers always come up short because there isn't an answer I can find within the neurotypical experience or other people's experiences. And it's like this goose chase of something you'll never find, um, because you were looking for the round holes. I don't know. Um,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we're in many ways, we resonate with that metaphor of, we're a square peg and there's this round hole, and
Yeah,
like we're trying to fit in there and it just doesn't work. And like
yeah.
that's the felt experience that I
Hmm.
had when I was working in corporate America, and even having a lot of success on a
Yeah,
conventional path, because that was the circular hole, that was the path that, like, I was told
yeah.
to, that that everything would be great once I got there.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, like, if you're a square, you gotta stop as soon as we can, like, stop trying to do what everyone else is doing, and figure out, what can I do that will feel really, really good, that will feel like a fit.
Yeah, for
And
you.
I'm glad you resonated with that.
Yeah, I love that. I just think it's there's so much to it. There's a lot of like accepting that you're not going to be like other people, and that doesn't make you wrong or better or worse or anything. It just means that I think when you finally have to, I'm curious about your experience too with this, of just like when you finally kind of have to accept that you're a little different, and that with that you can either just keep spiraling in shame and comparing, or you can be like, this is the cards I've been dealt, and I need to create a life that feels good for me. And um, those are the options. And I would rather feel good and stop being mean to myself and shaming myself further.
Yeah, I really appreciate you saying that. This is, I'm maybe not, I haven't really expressed this so far. This is a very emotional journey, and it's a
It
very
is.
emotional change to make.
Yeah.
And like, I'm talking about it like kind of logically, cognitively, like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, like, just find more square holes or whatever.
Yeah.
A huge part of my felt experience getting to where I am today
Hmm.
was grief, and
Yeah.
grieving that I'm not ever gonna be a circle in a circle hole, right? Like, I'm not gonna have the things that
Other
other
people.
people around me have,
Yeah.
and the things that I thought I was going to have, or the things that the life that I thought I was going to live, the way that I thought my life was going to look. There's a
Yeah.
lot of grief there. And this is a little bit of a separate conversation, and I'll say this kind of as uh I don't want to like be coming on too strong, but there are many people who feel this grief and then shut it down and then bury it, who are on this path, who are in this gifted community. And this is a hugely important thing and a skill that I've had to learn, which is feelings are incredibly important to feel and to process. And that's not something I learned ever until I, have been walking this path.
Mhm.
There's a lot of emotions that come up, and suppressing them is going to create 1,000 more problems and make the process way, way, way harder.
Mhm.
And it's kind of like what we talked about a little bit earlier with shame, where it's like saying it out loud kind of shrinks it.
Mhm.
With grief, I've learned to just sit with it and be on the couch and be like, I'm not going to do anything for the next 30 minutes, but
Yeah.
just be like, this sucks.
Yeah.
And so every time someone says that, their neurodivergence is, it's not a gift, it's a curse. I'm like, you probably have a lot of feelings,
Yeah.
and it kind of is a curse to have all these feelings if you don't know how to feel them and you don't want to feel them.
Mm.
But once you develop the skill of being able to welcome in a sensation like grief and allow it to be there for a period of time so that it can move through, it really is beautiful and freeing and simplifies your life and your path so much.
Yeah.
And on the other side of sitting with that grief, being a square peg in a square hole is going to feel so much better than wishing that you could be a circle in a circular hole, which is not possible for you, right?
Thank you so much for speaking on that. That like also while you were speaking, I was like, that is so eloquently spoken that I could tell that you've really been through that. That was just wow. That was the piece too, I think, to tie into all of this of like I totally relate of there's so much grief and it's like spending your life feeling shame and not understanding why you can't be like other people and really wanting some of the things other people have because society says it's great and society says you should do that and just not being able to makes you just feel so weird and so like there's something wrong with you and you constantly trying to find out what that is and um it is grief of realizing like oh I'm not necessarily not going to have those things but I'm just going to have a very different version and it's going to take a different kind of time and it's going to look different and it was a lot of grief for me of being like I am not going to be like a lot of my friends who are married to the first person they meet and settling down like I can't find someone that easy. It's not how it works for me. And I really struggle with that or like the corporate life and that is like it's so hard to even stomach that I'm like I don't even know what to do. A lot of times with that. There's just been so many things of being like I want so badly to have that I want to be able to tell my grandma that I am doing these things and I want those things and it's really a lot of grief because I think as humans we really 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 want to belong and it's harder to find belonging when you're different there's just like less of that available so I think um yeah it's so much grief and then I think once you again move through that grief and then you're like it's not such a curse like you can find the gifts and learn how to meet yourself to create the life that actually is going to be really beautiful and like create things that a lot of people can't and that are the gifts of being who we are. Um, but yeah, the grief thing is very real and I'm really happy you touched on that. And I'm sorry you've had to go through that too. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I have
Yeah.
nothing to add. That was beautiful. That was great.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think just when you realize that you are neurodivergent or gifted or just, a bit different, I think I wonder if this is like this for you too. Of just, for me at least, I've had to really figure out my needs. And once I could really try to understand myself and figure out what my complex needs were, which are very interesting. Like, even for example, like I'm someone who needs a lot of novelty, but I need a lot of certain things that are stable, and finding that balance is like huge for me. Or just like finding a lot of things that meet your needs and then living the life that is for you. It takes a lot of time, but I think when you do that, you kind of work towards that feeling we described. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to like I just had a kind of an idea or made a connection that I want to share,
Yeah.
and I just kind of I want to bounce it off you and see what you think.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways what we're describing here is kind of similar. I'm kind of getting like an image of someone who like is struggling with their sexual orientation.
Yes. Oh,
This
yes.
like
Yes.
someone who, let's say, I'll just picture like a man who knows he's gay, right? But also has all this shame around that and has been told that like that's bad.
Totally.
And so, his version of living a life that was always, like the what he thought he would have or what he would want for himself
Hmm.
would be, to be married to a woman and to have a family or whatever.
Hmm.
Like just the conventional heteronormative type thing.
Hmm.
And in many ways, I imagine it's a similar path to walk, that like this man would have to own the truth of what his preferences are and own that those preferences are actually different than most people's. And obviously, from what I can tell, that is a hugely emotional experience,
Totally. Totally.
right? And I love that the LGBT community is so supportive, because like that's the belonging that this journey requires, and the support, the emotional support that this journey requires. And so when this man finally, this is what we've been talking about, like acknowledges the truth internally to himself,
Yeah.
then he's able to take steps to tell the world, this is who I am, this is my truth. And so by
Totally.
doing that, this man's life is, he's actually accessing way more quality of life, a better quality of life than he otherwise would have had.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Like by saying I'm
Yeah.
a square and I'm going to be going for what I actually want. I'm going to stop
Yeah.
trying to like fit in. What's available to all of us when we go through this really difficult process is something much, much better on the other side, something that actually fits our preferences and
Hmm.
who we are and the truth of who we are,
Hmm.
way more than if we were just following the script and
Yeah.
living the life that someone told us to live.
And
Right. So
pushing it
like,
down. Yeah.
right. I don't know. It's that just kind of came up like in a lot of ways it's similar. And so now I'm like thinking about the people in my life who have come out and who have walked
Yeah.
that path. And I'm kind of looking to their story for inspiration and for, uh, and I'm appreciating that they did what they did, so that
Yeah.
for many reasons, but also so that like we can all kind of benefit from understanding. Like a lot of us in 2025 probably have people in our lives who have done this exact thing with their sexual orientation specifically.
Totally.
Um, and so we can kind of, as neurodivergent people who maybe are wanting to do something similar, but in this case more with like our lifestyle preferences, or
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't even know exactly like how to describe it, but
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
to live the life that we want to live, we can draw inspiration from the people who have come before us and walked a similar path.
Totally. And those would be great people to reach out to if you're friends with people in the LGBTQ community, that you can maybe feel heard from or like bounce thoughts off of, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So even if they don't have the exact they're not struggling with the exact thing that you are. It's still the exact same pattern.
Yes. Oh, I
I'm
love
just like
that.
I'm just realizing that now, and it's really
Yeah.
cool, and I'm feeling more energized and like, oh, there are more people uh, that I can talk to
Yeah.
about this with, and people in my community are going to have more people that they can talk to in their lives.
That is actually so true. I don't know why I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, it's so true. It's like I can't imagine how hard it is to figure that out and the shame and all. It's like a lot of the same things. So I think having those people to talk to would be great. Like more people who speak our language on some level. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my I want to shout out to my cousin Maddie. Her name's also Maddie, um, who has actually been a huge inspiration for me in my journey. And she had this, I don't want to tell her story, but she had this um, walked this really difficult path regarding her sexuality. And last year, I was able to go to her wedding,
Oh,
to a beautiful, wonderful woman, and it was such a loving experience. And I don't think anyone but me understood that like what she did is the same thing that I'm doing,
yeah.
because like on the surface it doesn't look like the same thing,
Yes.
but she's been a huge inspiration, and I just want to shout her out because she went through hell
Yeah.
to get to the other side. And like that's what I hope all of us can do who feel like we don't fit in and we don't belong.
Totally. And I think it's easy to look at somebody else who has just like on the outside, like, oh, they figured it out. It was so easy. And I think a lot of us don't have that. And a lot of people don't. We don't know everyone's inside story, so it's not always easy to just like understand how hard it was. But I think that what's on the outside, like, is a wedding, or it's like a self acceptance, or a life that is so beautiful. And it's a hard path to walk, but the result and also the person you become of it, I think is just so worth it. I think even more than the result is like who you become on the inside and your relationship with yourself and how that dictates the rest of your life and everything else you're in relationship with. Um, that's been my favorite part about this journey is who I've become and like my relationship to myself. Yeah,
I love it. That's what it's all about.
it is what it's all about. Yeah, look at us. Wise words on a Monday. um, well, I know we talked about so many things. Is there anything else within giftedness or neurodivergence or just anything else that's coming up for you that you want to get out?
You know, I'll plug the TikTok. Um, you can look me up, Ethan Moore,
Yep.
and you'll find it.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that my insights and understanding of this topic are changing and developing very rapidly.
Yeah.
So the things that I know in 2 weeks will probably be very different and very helpful, uh,
Yes.
more so than what I am aware of right now. And so
Yep.
I have I put those thoughts on TikTok. I have an online community of over 300 people who are resonating with these things. We talk about those insights as I get them. I'm delivering those to the community. And so if anyone listening has resonated, I think that those places that I just mentioned are about the best places online for this conversation on the internet right now. Um,
Yeah.
so feel free to plug in. I'm here with open arms for
Yeah.
that.
And you have coaching too. So if people want more like deeper support, is that just linked on your social media?
Yeah, so you'll be able to find that through like the link in my TikTok bio, and honestly, just reach out to me if that's something you're interested in. So that coaching it's very intense. It's a big commitment. It's a big investment, and I am working with people who are uh, ready to take that huge step. And I know that not everyone is, and that's okay too. And I'm here for those people as well. But the coaching is for people who are like, right now, I'm doing this. I'm going to invest in this journey. I'm going to get all the help I possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm ready to transform as a person.
Totally. And you have so many ways to help them. One, just like being a witness, like we talked about, also like your experience and everything you've learned. And like also just like having another person to talk to who gets it, another a person who kind of holds you accountable, like coaching wise. There's just so much goodness there. So yeah, I think there's a lot of ways to plug in, whether it's just watching your videos or being part of the community or working with you. I'll include all the links below so people can get connected with you. And I think it's funny that you mentioned like you have so many new insights coming so fast. And I'm like, that's a part of this too, of like the fastness in which I change. And I was like, I relate is crazy. And the new things I think in the new versions of myself I become. So I hope people can plug in and keep meeting each version of you and learning the new things you're going to learn because it's going to be a fast ride, but a good one. So yeah.
Onward and upward. Thank you, Madison. Yeah,
Onward and
thank you
upward.
for hosting this conversation.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. You're wonderful, and I'm just so excited to keep seeing what you do. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.